Welcome to the Helix webinar series. Today's session is on smart reporting. It's Helix Dashboards workshop. It will be for roughly 2 hours, so it's a long time to stay engaged. I have two presenters, or in fact actually three today. So Nikhil, Prasenjit and Ajinkya will be joining me, and they will do their formal introduction shortly. We have a lot that we're going to be covering, but before we get started, and also I'll go through the agenda, please remember there is the Q&A section of Zoom, which you will find at the bottom, not the chat. If you have any questions during the demo and also the slides, please put your questions into the Q&A. We will have plenty of time at the end to answer them. And when one of the presenters isn't presenting, they will try to answer those questions as well. You will remain muted, but if you do have questions towards the end, you can also raise your hand ready as well. So as far as the agenda is concerned, what we will be covering today is the BMC Helix dashboards, about it being the right dashboarding solution for BMC Helix. We will go through best practices of report migration. We will then do a product demo, and then we'll go back to Nikhil, who will then go through the roadmap, and then we will have the final piece, which is the Q&A section. Hopefully, most of you, depending on when you actually signed up, would have got a list of the prerequisite training. It is free of charge. So if you haven't already got to it and you've had no email that's come out, please reach out to me separately. My contact details will be on the sign up, or I can reach out to you individually and put that into the Q&A section and let me know. And also, before we actually go through the session today, I just want you to take a look at this legal notice. We will be showing roadmap stuff, so we just make you aware that whilst our endeavour is to get it into the product development, it's not always the case. So we will do our best as we go through the slides today to show you what we're going to be looking at. So with that, I'm now going to hand over to Nikhil to get us started. Over to you, Nikhil.
Thank you, Sam, and good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all our participants, wherever you're joining us from around the world. I'm Nikhil Deshpande. I am a product manager for Helix Dashboards, and I'm excited to be back presenting one more workshop on migrating from smart reporting to Helix Dashboards. We've been running this workshop for more than a year, and yet it amazes us how much interest there is in learning about migrations, in learning more about Helix Dashboards, which is what encourages us to continue to do these workshops for you. So we're going to look at this first section. We're going to look at an introduction to what BMC Helix Dashboards is all about. But before going there, let's spend a few moments to understand what is service ops. If you're a BMC customer, which I'm sure you are, then you're already heard this term service ops in BMC's messaging. So what is it about? For far too long, there have existed within IT departments broadly two functional units. There's the IT service management function, and there's IT operations management. IT service management deals with the service desk and various ITIL practices such as incident, problem, change, release, knowledge, service catalog, and so on. And the IT operations management function typically deals with events, metrics, capacity, and so on. But these two functional units operate in silos. They have operated in silos for decades. But the walls between these two functions are not conducive for IT organizations to realize their goals. Today, every IT organization must empower their business and make their businesses more competitive in the marketplace, enable their businesses to compete better with established enterprises and nimble startups. How do they do that? They need to bring service management and operations management together and enable these two units to work as one cohesive unit. In the past several years, another important trend is that of DevOps. Software development is no longer limited to the four walls of the IT function. Today, there are empowered teams across the business who develop enterprise software at a rapid pace, and that software must be deployed and supported for the business to keep running. It's important for IT functions to acknowledge that that DevOps is here to stay, and they need to enable the DevOps culture, not hinder it. BMC Helix enables our customers to do exactly that. We have also seen in the past several years that the service management principles that were originally adopted or put in place by IT functions are no longer limited just to IT. Today, any function that is not in the business of serving external customers is in the business of serving internal customers. So think of functions such as HR or facilities or marketing, finance. All of them have internal customers, and these functions are being held to the same service levels. They need to deliver services with the same service levels, the same experiences that people expect in all enterprise applications, that people expect in consuming IT services. And that's why these lines of businesses are also eager to adopt the service management principles that were put in place by IT. So, line of business service management is an integral part of service ops. So, where does Helix dashboards come into play? And we'll look at that in a moment. So, what is Helix Dashboards? It's a dashboarding solution. It's a solution that enables you to build reports and dashboards across the entire spectrum of BMC Helix products. It's built on Grafana, which is a leading dashboarding platform for reporting on observability. For several years, Grafana was known as a leading dashboarding tool for observability, but for our in our case, we have extended the capabilities of Grafana to not just time series databases or observability, we have extended it to relational databases as well. And we have done it in a way that makes it easy for our customers to develop reports or dashboards using Grafana. So that's what Helix Dashboards is about. Helix Dashboards is not just a white labeling of Grafana into Helix Dashboards. BMC has invested significantly over the past few years to build value-adding features in Helix Dashboards, which take advantage of the out-of-the-box features of Grafana, which you get anyway. Additionally, you can take advantage of all those capabilities that BMC has added. These are mainly in areas such as visualizations, scheduling, and exporting. And we'll get to these in a little more detail. BMC has developed an extensive set of out-of-the-box dashboards, which we ship with the product. We know that many customers actively use our dashboards. There are others who may not use our dashboards the way they're designed, but may want to make some small tweaks to those dashboards, and that's perfectly fine. You're free to copy our dashboards, modify them as required, and deploy those as your custom dashboards. This enables you to understand the capabilities of dashboards as well as align with your specific business needs that may be different from the needs that we design these dashboards for. The best part of Helix Dashboards is that it works across all BMC Helix solutions. So why is Helix Dashboards the right solution for you? It is a modern tool of choice for visualizing data across service management and operations management. Reporting is not just about pulling data from a database and showing it in a table. That's the old way of reporting. Now, analysts, business managers, IT executives, business executives, all of them want to see information, which is presenting the data in a visually compelling way. Visual communication is an art, and data analysts need to use the right tools, they need to use the right visualizations in order to deliver dashboards that can be consumed by their leaders or their customers. Helix Dashboards becomes that centralized common reporting service, which provides the necessary services for your data analysts and business managers to report of whatever is going on in their world, incidents, problems, changes, events, metrics, capacity, line of business case management, and so on. Another important aspect of service ops is that you should be able to drive outcomes in one domain based on what happens in the other domain. So across operations management and service management, you should be able to make sense of situations in incidents. You should be able to make sense of incidents and see their impact on operations management. It is possible to do this only with Helix dashboards. If you have been using smart reporting, then smart reporting was a tool that you could use only for reporting in ITSM or a few other BMC Helix products, but it was not capable of reporting across all BMC Helix products, which is what differentiates Helix dashboards from smart reporting. With the out of the box report definitions that we ship, we believe that this is a complete set of dashboards that you can take advantage of in serving the information or analytics needs of your business. These are all the solutions for which PMC Helix Dashboards works. Definitely ITSM, which probably most of you use. CMDB isn't considered an independent product, but it's not completely a part of ITSM either. It's closely related to ITSM. And of course, if you roll out the service catalog, then you probably use digital workplace. If you use line of business case management, then that's business workflows and other products on the service management side. If you have developed custom applications using Helix Innovation Suite or what was formerly called ARS, then you can use dashboards to build reports on those custom applications as well. On the operations management side, everything from AI ops, capacity optimization, log analytics, discovery, and so on. You can use Helix dashboards as one dashboarding solution across all of these BMC Helix solutions. Let's look at some out-of-the-box dashboards that are shipped with Helix dashboards. The first one is a digital workplace request overview dashboard. It gives you a complete picture of what's going on in the service desk from the standpoint of the service catalog. You'll see a number of statistical panels at the top, number of requests raised, how many of those were fulfilled, how many are awaiting approval, and so on. But then you're not just looking for absolute numbers, you're also looking for trends. So, what are the submission trends, fulfillment trends? What's the breakdown of service requests by different status values? You also may be interested in seeing a breakdown by different product categories or operational categories. You may want to look at a breakdown by different business services. An important function of the service desk management team is to staff the service desk so that there's adequate staffing across all categories or across all business services to meet and exceed service level agreements to fulfill service requests to the satisfaction of your end users. For that purpose, you need a breakdown of your service catalog or your service requests by different business services. You may have a centralized IT team for several services, but almost every company, which is spread across multiple locations, does have a local presence as well for any local hardware or network issues. So, what are the site specific requests that your teams are handling? So, this dashboard gives you complete overview of your service desk. Remember, I talked about service ops. The service dashboard gives you a complete overview of what's going on the operations management side as well as on the service management side. You see a number of panels. So from the header at the top, you can select a specific service. And for that service, you can see the health score, the number of situations, categories, availability, and so on. At the bottom, you'll see a number of other metrics such as open events, durations of outages, mean time between failures. You'll see some metrics from ITSM such as open incidents, how many SLAs were met, and so on. You'll also notice a timeline at the center, which correlates health score, events, and incidents. So these are elements that come across ITSM and IT operations management. This is one chart that allows you to visualize ITSM data as well as ITOM data on one timeline. And it will help you uncover any correlations that may otherwise be difficult to notice. So this is the power of service ops. And this is the power of Helix dashboards in helping you realize the vision of service ops. Over the years, we have developed a number of power-packed features in Helix dashboards. Remember, the purpose of Helix dashboards is not just to pull data, it's also to present the data in a visually compelling way. The art of visual communication is about using the right visualization to present data to consumers of information. And for that purpose, we ship several out of the box plugins, visualization plugins. And all our plugins are prefixed with BMC. So you'll notice BMC table, BMC bar chart, BMC time series, BMC cross tab, BMC record details. All of these we have developed keeping in mind the specific use cases of our customers. As customers of BMC Helix, you get to take advantage of the visualization plugins that BMC has developed. You also get to take advantage of Grafana plugins that we ship along with Helix dashboards. You'll also notice that there are a few community plugins. Since Grafana is open source, there's a vibrant community where a number of customers or partners and others share their plugins, and we ship a few of these community plugins as well. So for example, if you notice, we have made use of some visualizations such as dynamic text and calendar. A calendar plugin is a good way to show data where you need to show the distribution of data on a calendar. That calendar could be a weekly calendar, a monthly, or an annual calendar. A good example is a change calendar. If you want to see what changes are scheduled across the entire month or over a specific week, you can use the change calendar dashboard, which uses the calendar plugin, which is a community plugin on Grafana. So this is what you get when you use Helix dashboards, a complete solution for reporting on service ops. Another important aspect of Helix dashboards is the ease of finding skilled resources. If you're looking to hire data analysts or report developers with Grafana skills, you'll find these are quite commonly available in the job market. On the other end, if you prefer to develop your reports in-house using analysts or developers who may be familiar with smart reporting or any other reporting tool, then they will find Helix dashboards quite easy to get up to speed. So either way, the learning curve is quite small, and anyone who wants to learn Helix dashboards can get up to speed fairly quickly and become productive at delivering dashboards. Let's look at a few dashboards developed by BMC IT. BMC's IT function uses BMC Helix products to manage our data center and our service desk. They have developed a few dashboards to help them run the operations and service management. So we'll look at some of these dashboards. The first one is a CIO dashboard. This is a dashboard that gives a complete overview of IT services, business services, staffing in IT, and so on to senior IT leaders. You'll notice some important statistics showed in this dashboard, such as how many open critical events do you have? How many open major events, minor events, distribution of outages across different business services, you see different total business services, how many technical services you have, and several other important metrics that are often consumed by IT leaders. If you're looking at outages, you don't just get a count, you also get to see a distribution across different services or across different applications. So this is an important dashboard that you can use to highlight to your IT leadership. If you use VMware vCenter, then the vCenter overview dashboard will help you keep a watch on your VMware estate. So you can see the availability, the status of your VMware clusters. For every cluster, you can see its availability, whether it's available, whether it's in an alarm state, warning state, whatever, so that you have complete uptime over your entire VMware estate. You can also see CPU utilization, memory utilization across all your virtual machines. So all important metrics related to VMware are present in this dashboard. There are some metrics that are of the nature of gauges. For example, a good example would be availability. You would expect that availability of business services or technical services should be 100% or close to 100%. But what is it exactly? It's a good way to show availability on a scale of 1 to 100 using a gauge visualization. So this dashboard takes advantage of gauge visualization. You also see a time series here. So you can use this gauge effectively. This dashboard effectively uses the gauge plugin. This is a typical incident. It's an aging incident analysis dashboard. Service desk teams have to keep a close watch on the number of open incidents that your service desk is working on. And this dashboard helps them watch precisely on that. It shows in different time buckets the number of open incidents. How many incidents are open from 7 to 14 days, 14 days to a month, and greater than a month. Further, you can see a breakdown of these open incidents across different assigned groups, you'll also see a cross tab of aging and priority. So, and some numbers will quickly catch your eye because that's the power of using a cross tab plugin. With that, I'm now going to hand off to Prasenjit, who will take us through the next part of this workshop, which is about migrating your reports from smart reporting to Helix dashboards. We'll share some of the best practices of planning and executing these migrations. So over to you, Prasenjit.
Thank you, Nikhil. So let me share my screen. So hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Prasenjit. I am a consultant with BMC Professional Services team, and I assist customers with their migration journey from smart reporting to Helix dashboards. And I also help them with performance optimizations around their reports. And today I'll be taking you through the migration framework and the best practices that BMC follows for migration from smart reporting to Helix dashboards. So as Nikhil discussed, why Helix Dashboard is a superior solution compared to smart reporting, especially for service ops. And with this new concept, we needed a new tool, and that's where we have Helix Dashboards. So today, we'll talk about how we can move from smart reporting to Helix Dashboard. We'll see how we do the assessment to understand how you are using your smart reporting instance. And based on all the information that we discussed, we then put together a sample migration strategy. Now, along with that, we'll also talk about few of the learnings from the field. So when professional services team work with the customers, we get a lot of feedback, which we pass on to Nikhil and the rest of the product team. But we also use some of the learnings on how we migrate across different environments. So we'll talk about that as well. So based on the BMC professional services best practices, we have basically created a 5-phase framework for this kind of a migration, which starts with the prepare phase. And this is where all of us are right now. Now, in this, we basically focus on understanding the current tool, which is smart reporting. We see how it maps with Helix Dashboard, which is the tool where we want to move. What are the gaps? How similar or different each of these tools are. And this definitely involves a lot of learning, including awareness session, just like this one. And you would have also completed a lot of prerequisite trainings before attending this session. So trainings like these, along with the resources, will help you get that basic understanding, the foundation that we need. And this will basically lead us into the planning phase. So phase 2, which is the planning phase, this is where we get into more specifics of how we want to perform your migration. And to do this, the first thing that you want to do is get an assessment of your smart reporting environment. We'll shortly discuss this in detail, but basically, during this assessment, we try to understand the reporting features that you're using and what's the quantity of that usage. And based on that, we identify the priority reports, the top priority reports, and accordingly, we plan the different phases of these migration. Then we have the migrate and validate phase. Now, these two phases goes hand in hand. This is where once the reports are migrated, we actually ask the end users to do a validation to see if the reporting if the reports that we have migrated, if those meet their needs and format preferences. And again, this is where we get a lot of feedback because that's a key for improvement. And this feedback goes to the migration team until we are done with migrating all the reports that are under the scope. And lastly, we have the transition phase. This is where you go live with the new tool as well as the new reports. And if you have been working with an external team, such as BMC Professional Services, or a partner is doing this for you, you will also get post go live support from them and a knowledge transfer session. Now, like I said, the very first step here after preparedness is planning, and it's one of the most crucial steps. So this is to understand the reports that you have, how you're using your smart reporting instance. So we perform an assessment. Now, before that, we need to understand some of the feature mappings across these both the tools. So on the screen, you can see we have smart reporting, and the smart reporting has different objects. Like you might have a report with just a single visualization. You could have some reports which shows data in tabular format. You can have reports with multiple charts. Then there are co-display reports, which are essentially like a big report having multiple child reports embedded in that. Then there's also dashboards. However, on the Helix dashboard side, everything is considered as a dashboard. So it can have like a single dashboard with one or more panels in it. And that panel can be either tabular or it can hold any other visualizations. So one example would be, so let's say if you have a co-display report with like 10 child reports, when it gets converted into Helix dashboard, you will have a single Helix dashboard with 10 panels, where each panel will actually be one of your child reports from smart reporting. Now, many of the object types that we have on smart reporting side are all mapped to the same kind of a concept on Helix dashboard. So as I mentioned, everything translates into a dashboard with multiple panels. And here, when using the migration tool, you also need to be aware that there are features which are currently supported by the migration tool. However, there are few features which are not yet supported. So one example could be a visualization. So whenever there's a different visualization, so we provide a conditional support depending upon the type of visualization that you're using in your reports. So now let's take a look at few of the visualizations uh, and across like the most common visualizations that we have seen in our customers' environment. Basically, those are very similar on both sides of the world. So a good example could be a bar chart. So like in smart reporting, you could have different categories of bar chart. You could have vertical bar chart, horizontal bar chart, stacked bar chart. However, when you look at the Helix dashboard side, it's just termed differently. So it's simplified, and we basically refer to it as a bar chart only. And you can just configure it to the way that you want it to look like. Similarly, you can see on Helix dashboard side, we have gauge as a visualization, just like Nikhil talked about it earlier. So which can be useful to see your availability of the services. Now, this serves as an alternative to meter or dial charts that we had in PMC's previous reporting tool, which is the smart reporting. Now, one thing that we need to understand is that some of the visualizations from smart reporting may not always have an exact counterpart on the Helix dashboard side. And this is because these two are different platforms altogether with different underlying technologies. So when there is no exact match exists, what we do is we look for the next best available visualization that suits the data that we are trying to represent. So now that we understand all the key object types and their nuances, let's deep into the actual assessment process. So we have a couple of key factors that we need to focus on, and this will determine the time and effort that's needed for performing the migration. So some of the key factors that we'll look at as part of assessment is the total number of total number of reports that we have, because this plays a very significant part in determining the time and effort that's required to migrate all of them to the new platform. Then what are the report types that we're talking about? We take a look at that. So we identify if those are like just simple tabular reports, which are fairly easier when it comes to migration, or those are, let's say, co-display reports with, which has multiple child reports embedded in that, and there are multiple links which connects multiple reports together. Then we also take a look at the visualization to understand if the visualization that your existing reports are using, if it's something that is supported by the migration utility. And if the visualization is not supported, that's where we also look at which alternate visualization we can use. Then as part of the analysis, we also look at the complexity of the reports. And the complexity gets added when we are dealing with co-display reports, as it has a lot of child reports embedded in that particular report. Then you could also have advanced database functions, which are part of your report. You could have calculated fields. So the more complex a report is, the more effort is needed when we are trying to migrate it from smart reporting to Helix dashboards. We also look at the frequency of the reports, how frequently those reports are being used, and when was the last time those were executed, who owns those reports. So reports which, let's say, haven't been used in a while, are something which we really may not be required to be migrated over, right? So you can actually ignore that. So uh, all this information is part of the information that we receive from that assessment. Similarly, you can also, there are a few additional things that we'll look is whether your smart reporting reports, are those part of any dashboards, whether you have broadcast or schedules running on those, and whether those reports are drill down or drill through kind of reports. So the way we conduct this assessment is we basically run a couple of SQL queries, and we get this granular details about your reporting usage. So these queries help us to analyze the various parameters And a full list of these queries are available on the BMC's documentation page. So now we will look at a sample assessment report to understand all these factors in a little bit more detail. So here we have an example of a assessment report table showing various columns, which helps us to evaluate the report. So basically, this is the output that we finally get at the end of a assessment cycle. Now, some of the key columns that we focus here are the 90-day hit count. Now, this column tells us how frequently a report has been accessed in the last 90 days. And this 90 days time period is totally configurable. You can have it for 60 days, 120 days, or any other period depending upon your organization's need. The idea is we look at the hit count. A higher hit count indicates that a more important that particular report is a more important one, and that should be prioritized when we are planning the migration. Then we look at whether your reports are private or public. A public report is something which is available to the entire organization, whereas a private report could only be accessible by its own owner. The next column, we have the chart type, which basically is the visualization that is used in your report. Again, it's important to check this because we want to understand if the visualization that you're using, if that's supported in Helix dashboard, because we might have to adjust it accordingly when that report is migrated over. And also this tells us what's the percentage of each type of chart visualization that you're using. So that gives the product team a good idea that if something is not available, they can plan for it as a feature in a future release. Then the next four columns that we have, those are the complexity indicators, as I told you. So it'll tell us whether your reports have any calculated fields, if there are any database functions which are part of those reports, whether those reports are co-display reports, and if so, how many child reports are part of that. So again, higher the complexity here, the more effort is required for this kind of migration. We also take a look at the last two columns, which is basically dashboard name and count broadcast. So dashboard name tells us whether the smart reporting report that you have, whether it's part of any dashboard. And similarly, the broadcast count, again, it shows if a broadcast has been set up for that particular report. Now, the data from all these columns will guide you in prioritizing reports that most frequently, like which ones are most frequently used and which are the most complex ones. And this, with this assessment, you will have the details necessary to plan the migration phases going forward more efficiently. So now putting everything together, here we have a sample migration strategy. Again, this is just a sample. So for every organization, for every individual, this has to be tweaked. But bulk of it or the overall structure of it more or less remains the same. Now, the migration strategy here, again, is aligned to our 5-phase framework that we just talked about. So it starts with preparation, then moves through the planning phase, then it goes to migration and validation, and finally it transitions into the go live. Now, we have already talked about the prepare phase, which is all about that awareness and trainings. And it basically includes understanding your current system, familiarizing yourself with the new platform, that is the Helix dashboards, and leading up to this planning phase, which starts with the assessment of your environment. So as part of the planning phase, after the assessment, right, we basically look, as I mentioned, we try to filter and prioritize reports. So we look at the 90-day hit count, when was the last date a particular report was accessed, who was using that report, and all this information, right? We fetch this from that assessment report. And again, we don't need to migrate or put in a lot of time and effort into migrating those reports which are not actively being used. So actually we can utilize that time better by focusing more on some of the top priority reports which are critical to the organization. So once we are done with the filtering of reports, prioritization, and identifying the order in which we want to pick it up, then we first pick a set of reports for our pilot phase. Now, again, so let's say if we have identified 50 priority reports, we just don't go with 50. We just pick a small subset of it. So in the pilot phase, let's say we pick only 10 reports. Now, it can be quite tempting to run the migration tool against all the reports that you have. But again, that could lead to additional problems. And one of the biggest problem is definitely that you will not be able to take a look at the reports that you're migrating, because there's a possibility that it can be redesigned in a better way using the new features available in Helix dashboard platform. And secondly, if you're doing a bulk migration, when it comes to user validation and user acceptance testing, it becomes very difficult because the users can only verify a fixed number of reports in small amount of time, because that validation process is like a total manual process. So the recommendation is that you go with a small pilot phase, focus on your top priority reports, and then we do a deep analysis, estimation of those reports to understand how much time and effort we are talking about here. Then once we have identified your pilot phase reports, we have to decide how we want to tackle each of the report, whether we want to convert that report from smart reporting to Helix dashboard, whether we want to recreate that report from scratch, or whether we want to reuse something which is already there. So conversion is basically bringing over the direct migration of the SQL that you already have in your smart reporting. So this can either be done using the tool, or you can manually bring over the SQL queries. Um, or basically, that's a decision that you take based on whether the migration utility supports that kind of report or not. But you are free to choose both the approaches. You can either do it via the tool or do it manually. When it comes to recreating, we have a Helix Visual Query Builder, which can be used to redesign your reports from scratch. And that's basically the recommended method when it comes to recreation of report. We'll see a demo of it later in the session, but again, you might think why you really want to recreate it if you have something already. So the advantage that recreation brings is you can use it, first of all, the visual query builder to modify your report. So this allows for a long-term flexibility and better optimization of your reports. But let's say if you go down that SQL migration approach, you won't be able to use that query builder. Again, recreation is important because let's say if you have a report which is not really performing well, it's slow, or if its SQL is not really optimized. So this is the time where you can redesign it from scratch, leveraging the best practices that BMC has laid out, and use the features of this new platform that Helix Dashboard has to offer. Then we have reuse, which is basically reusing some of the existing content that we already have. So as Nikhil mentioned, we ship Helix Dashboard with multiple out-of-the-box reports and dashboards which are there. Then there's marketplace content that you can import in your environment. So depending upon the approach that you take, once your reports are migrated, it moves through some internal validations. And after that, there's a user acceptance from the consumers of those report. So until all the gaps are resolved, until the end users are happy with it, we basically go through this migration and optimization part. Then finally, we have the transition phase where, let's say, all your migration is done. Now you go live with the new platform, the new reports that you have. And as I mentioned earlier, depending upon if an external team partner like BMC Professional Services, they are involved, you also get go live support and a knowledge transfer session. And that's basically the end of your pilot phase. Now, after the first few reports are migrated over and as a part of pilot phase, you can apply the lessons that you have learned to migrate the rest of your reports more efficiently. So you can, again, follow the same approach, but this time you will have more information, more understanding of the entire process. So you can try to migrate more reports and in less time in a more efficient way. So now let's talk about few of the learnings from the field. So while working with other customer, one of the most common challenges that we have noticed is that many organizations don't really have a governance structure when it comes to report creation. So without governance, what happens is basically anyone can create a report, and this ultimately leads to a high volume of reports which remains unused. The assessment here plays a crucial role as it helps to identify which of the reports are being actively used and which are not. And we have on the field, we have seen cases where somewhere around 50 to 80% of the reports were also identified for few of the customers which are not actively being used. Again, the percentage of this unused report depends on your organization's report creation process, whether it's more of a centralized approach or a decentralized approach. So basically, these are the learnings that we have noticed in our other customers' environment. Apart from that, last access time, the frequency, the usage frequency, and whether your reports are marked as private, that also provides some key insight. Because so if you have a report which is marked as a private report, the access might change for that over time due to ownership changes. So the migration tool will basically this assessment prior to the migration tool will help you identify those changes. Then there could be a lot of redundant reports where, let's say, one-time use reports are created and then they are never used again. Maybe someone copies a report, existing report, then modifies it, but over time the new report is no longer used and it becomes obsolete. So the migration strategy that we have that basically aims at avoiding these redundancies. So um, so by reviewing the out of the box reports that we have, the content from the communities and marketplace, we can get an idea that whether what we want to migrate over, if we already have something similar in Helix dashboard. So if something is already there which serves better purpose, you can consider reusing that. So we have two new consoles, which is the shared ticket console and asset console in Helix, which basically offers an effective way to display the tabular data. Now, these consoles allow users to set presets, allow you to filter data, export data. So these can actually replace many of the simple reports that there's a possibility that you might be bringing over from smart reporting. So do explore these as well. And as I mentioned, it's always tempting to migrate everything at once, but the most successful projects that we have seen follows an iterative approach. So we focus on a small set of priority reports in the initial phases. So by doing this, it basically allows for better migration planning and user validation. And this iterative approach allows for adjustment between phases to ensure better user acceptance. And remember, always like user validation can't proceed at a rapid phase. So always plan your migrations in small manageable chunks. So that way the end user gets enough time to review it and provide feedback, whether they need any changes or if it serves the purpose. So with that, let's take a look at few of the case studies. So the first customer we had, so this is a really large government entity. So this organization had highly complex reports and particularly co-display reports with like numerous child reports and child reports in double digits. So after analysis, we decided that we want to recreate most of the reports for them because they were also facing problem with performance. So we basically performed that analysis, and since we are planning at recreating the reports, this basically allowed us to take a look at their SQL queries and optimize its performance. Especially the child report, the co-display report, because child reports that consumes a lot of resources, and we identified that those SQL queries were not really optimized. So this was a workshop-led approach where we carefully planned each of the reports. We analyzed those, And migration was done in phases in agile methodology. So as you can see, so we did like 10-day sprints where each sprint was having like 7 to 8 reports. And user acceptance testing was also done in parallel for the reports from the previous sprints. And doing all this, what we noticed is that initially the customer has around 50 to 100 reports. Um, but through thorough analysis and prioritization, only 95 reports were later on selected as part of the final migration phase. Then the next customer was a retail giant. So this customer again had a extensive number of reports, somewhere around 11,000 to start with. And after considering the hit count, which is the usage frequency, the number dropped by around 50%, so around 6,000 reports. Then we prioritized it further, and that brought the number down to around 381 top priority reports that was planned for migration. Now, the approach, they basically focused on migrating their top priority reports first, and the rest of the reports, they decided to bring it over on a business need. So if something is required, they plan it well before that. Okay, these are the reports that we need to bring over. And if something can be better designed in Helix dashboard, that's what they opted for. Then lastly, we had a large e-commerce player. Now, this is a company which prioritized dashboard rather than individual reports. So they started with dashboards that they were most frequently using. And we analyzed those, and we found that there are multiple core display reports in there. There are multiple reports which are drilled down, drilled through. So post analysis, uh, we narrowed it down to around 57 reports, which were part of the 2 priority dashboards that they suggested. And this count includes all the linked and drilled down reports. Thereafter, they also took an agile approach with weekly iterations. So each weekly iteration, they would have go lives, and this basically ensured, continuous progress and fast feedback, because since the reports were less, we are doing it on a weekly basis. The end users were also able to quickly validate and provide their feedback. So the migration strategy, so the key takeaway I would say here is like the migration strategy can vary greatly depending upon your organization's need, the report complexities and the usage patterns. The priority and the approach to migrating these reports, those could differ. So understanding your specific situation is essential for creating a successful migration plan. So before we wrap up this part of the workshop, let's quickly go over some of the resources that can assist you during your migration journey. So the very first resource is you should always refer to BMC documentation. Everything that we covered today, including the assessment queries, the feature mapping, and much more, it's all fully documented in the BMC Helix documentation, Helix Dashboards documentation. Then uh, uh, again, the documentation should always be your first step if you want more technical details or other aspects of this transition, to see whether any feature that you're looking for, whether it's already from smart reporting, if it's already there on the Helix dashboard site. So all those information can be found from this documentation. Then in addition to the official documentation, we have variety of resources available within the BMC communities and forums. So these include recordings of previous webinars, videos, and other community contributed content that can help you with your migration process. Communities provide a great value as a source for additional tips, solutions, practical advice from other users who have already encountered similar challenges while performing the migration. So another resource is BMC Academy. So there are a variety of courses available. Some are more focused on the ITSM side. Some are more focused on the ITOM part of it. We also have certifications path. So for administrators, we have an administrator certification path. So you may already have completed few of these prerequisite courses for this session, but I definitely encourage you to explore further based on your current role and needs. Now, as I mentioned earlier, community contributed content is the key resource. So for example, if you are working on a Kubernetes cluster, there is already a Kubernetes container dashboard already available in the community, which you can leverage. So similarly, you can find other dashboards, templates, and resources in the community that might suit your migration needs. Furthermore, BMC community allows you to raise product idea. So let's say if you're looking for a feature which is not presently available, you can raise a product idea on it. Other users can vote on that. And based on your feedback, the product team analyzes it from time to time. And they decide whether it's something which can be included in the product roadmap in the coming days, in the future releases. And you can definitely also go through blogs and articles which are contributed by other team members from BMC as well as from other users. Lastly, if you require additional support during your migration, so BMC has some professional services offering. So on the left side, this is a specific offering targeted towards smart reporting to Helix dashboard migration. Now, this includes a planning phase where an architect will help you with building the migration strategy. Then a Helix dashboard expert will be there to assist you with actual migration of your top priority reports, and there will be knowledge transfer sessions as well. So your team can going forward work independently and manage those dashboards. Similarly, on the right side, we also have a broader offering. This is more around designing or creating your dashboards from scratch. So this also includes workshops, expert guidance, and knowledge transfer, similar to the structured approach that we have for the migration service. So these resources are designed to support you at various stages throughout your migration process, starting from the documentation to expert assistance. So I hope you leverage these offerings. Now I'll hand it back to Ajinkya for the next part of the session. Ajinkya, over to you.
Start again, no
Okay.
worries, go for it.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for your patience. Sorry for this inconvenience. My name is Ajinkya. I am a senior product developer in Helix Dashboard team. As Nikhil mentioned, and also Prasenjit covered about the migration from smart reporting to Helix Dashboard. We have Visual Query Builder. We call it as a VQB. In a short form, Visual Query Builder is basically a UI where you can create AR SQL queries by just drag and drop functionality like you have in the smart reporting. So for that Visual Query Builder, I have already prepared one demo, which is already recorded. So I'm going to play that video so that I'll explain all about Visual Query Builder and also the reporting metadata studio, which is the another application which is being used for creating views for the Visual Query Builder. Okay, I'm just playing my video.
So I'm going to show you all Visual Query Builder and Reporting Metadata Studio, how it helps to create dashboard very quickly. And as being as a smart reporting user, Visual Query Builder gives you a similar experience of creating dashboard. So let's see how we can use Visual Query Builder to create dashboards. Okay, so this is our Helix portal, first landing page on the Helix portfolio. I'm just opening Helix dashboard from here. Okay, so this is just my home screen. I'm just closing this dock window. Okay, so I'll just use this first plus button to create new dashboard. I'm creating a new dashboard. I'm just clicking on add new visualization. For getting data from different application, different BMC Helix application, we have
I think it's paused. Try
It
again.
is not paused.
Okay, so for service management, again, there are three types. Either you can use this form to create, or you can use SQL or Visual Query Builder, these two options. So SQL is freehand SQL, and Visual Query Builder, the one that I was talking about, which gives you a similar experience like a smart reporting to create dashboard. Okay, so I'm just clicking on this Visual Query Builder. It opens this entire screen, and if you see here, the view is selected. And first view is incident management. So if you see, there are many views provided by BMC as a out of box, like this change management, problem management, work order, and so on. So for now, for this demo, I'm just going to use visual incident management as a view. This view, when I say view, it's a combination of multiple forms in the AR, and also the join, and also the fields from that particular form or the column from that particular table. Okay, so if you see here, there are categories, like we call this as a fields. Okay, so incident management, and these are all incident related. Then we have some which are like only the date type. So if you notice, the icon represent that this is a date and time type of field. If you see here, these are the submitters, so it's a string, okay, a string text type of. Then priority is again enum field. Okay? And similarly, we have some which is like total transfer or group transfer. These are the number field. So that way we have the different icons for different type of field. So let's say if I want to generate a report, let's say a simple report, show me the incident number and its priority. I can simply just drag these two fields. I can click on preview. It will show me, okay, the first 100 rows just for a preview, what query I have selected. And if I want to see, okay, what query it is getting generated at the backend, I can simply click on this SQL and it will show that. So if I just click on use query, my panel is ready. I can click on apply and I can save this dashboard. That way my simple panel is ready. I don't need to write a SQL here. I can simply use this drag and drop functionality to create a report. Okay. So if I want to do some aggregation, let's say, right, I want priority wise number of incidents, let's say, then I can use these aggregate functions. So depending on the field type, there are some aggregate functions associated. So if I click on this now, this will show me the count of incident number based on the priority. This is aggregation function on top of some field, right? We just need to use this 3 dot and use these functions. If we don't want to use field and then aggregation, there are some predefined calculated field which are like similar to this. Let's say count of incident will give you, if I want to have count of incident, I can simply use this number of incident field, calculated field directly as well. Okay, so I'll just remove this. I'll click on preview and use query. So now this is showing me data for all priority. Let's say I want to filter this data based on the priority. So I can simply add this priority in the category, in the filter, and I can use these values. So as this is enum, we pre-populate the values for it. So I can simply say critical I'll say preview. It will just show me the data only for critical. When I click on apply, this panel will show data only for critical priority. This visual query builder is like mostly used for creating a query and getting data into the Helix dashboard. Rest all functionality like visualization, all schedule, everything will be same. So there is no change in user experience for that. It is same for all. Now, let's say I have created this panel, but there are use cases where we need a variable or a filter, right? So we can use Visual Query Builder as a filter as well. So let's say I want to create a filter for priority. I can simply say enable query editor, and this will open. This will show me the UI for Visual Query Builder. And here I want to create a filter for priority. So I'll just drag and drop this priority field here in the selection, and I'll click on preview. So these many values. Here I cannot drag multiple things because for variable, it requires only one column. So only one field I can drag and drop. We can have some functions to it. We can add filters even in the variable that we can do, but only one field in the variable. Okay. So I just click on use query and my panel is ready. Okay. If I click on apply, if I go back to dashboard, this will show critical, high, low, medium as a filter. And I can use that here as well. So how to use that? Earlier, with the SQL mode, we have to add that variable reference in the query. Now with the Visual Query Builder, we can simply use this button. Instead of default values, I will use template as priority. I'll just remove this. I will just click on preview. And now this will show data for critical because first selection is critical. If I switch to high, this will show data for high. If I switch to low, it will show data for low. So this way we can link variable in the VQV as well. Okay. So yeah, these are the Visual Query Builder options flow. If I also want to show you a few more things, like there are multiple out-of-box dashboard similar to incident management. Also, this list will show some custom dashboard as well. Let's say if you have any customization done on the AR side and that is not covered in these out-of-box dashboard, out-of-box views, then we have to modify these views, add our customization, and again publish that view to Helix dashboard so that report editors can use this view. For that customization, what we have another application which is reporting metadata studio. Okay, so to get that studio, what you can do, you can just simply go to administration, then general, then you will see a tile for reporting metadata studio. Okay. From here, you can use this download button. It will download one zip file, which is a Windows application, Windows standalone application that you need to execute or run on any Windows server where you have the casing setup with AR database. Okay, because this tool will need a connectivity between Helix dashboard plus AR database. Okay, for that we can configure casing and some of the details which are required. You can get it from here, right? This AR host and port. These are some dummy values because these are the casing gateway host and port. Okay. You can simply use this copy to clipboard button to copy these values. Okay, so now if we talk about reporting metadata studio, so I have just downloaded this zip file from Helix dashboard and I extracted that. It shows me this particular folder, reporting metadata editor. Here we have this BMC auth configuration. And in this, we have to just do a configuration for my ADE information. Okay. So what is my ADE tenant? That information I can quickly get from here from the portal. This is my tenant URL. This is my tenant ID. This is my tenant URL. Again, AR host and port. This is the casing configuration. So if I just show you, this is my casing configuration file where I've configured this host with this IP address and with this port. So that way I have configured this, and those details I have mentioned here. REST endpoint. This is a platform URL which you can get it from Helix dashboard. Like go to connection, open this particular BMC Helix data source, and inside this there is a platform URL. From here you can get this information. Environment alias, you can give any. For now I'm using this for demo, so that's why I'm given alias as a demo. We can have QA, prod, or dev, any name we can give. This is just an alias. Okay, so this is the environment file. Then we have profile file as well, where we need to mention key and secret of the user who is a reporting admin. Okay, so I'm using this user, IUR user 2, and he is an administrator. Rather, instead of reporting administrator, he is a tenant administrator. And for him, how to get the user access key and secret. So on the Helix portal, if I go to my profile, then I have this option, right, to get my access keys. From here, I can simply click on add key and I can give some name and I'll generate my access key for this account. This key has two parts. One is access key and another one is a secret that we can mention, that we can copy and paste in this file and save this file. So with this, all my reporting metadata studio configuration is done. I am ready to open reporting metadata studio. So what I will do, I'll just open this reporting metadata studio in the edit mode. Sorry. Yeah. And I'll just open this batch file. Okay. Reporting metadata studio requires JDK, OpenJDK 17 and above. I have just configured 17 here on this server. This will like do authentication with the respect of your access key and secret, and opens up this UI. So whenever you open first time, you'll see like this blank screen. There is no connection, nothing. This is our first landing screen for reporting metadata studio. Here we have some option. This is a Windows normal application, which we can use to modify view. Okay. So before we modify, we can get these out-of-box views plus the custom views from Helix dashboard. So if you see, these are all out-of-box dashboard provided. These are all custom dashboards which I have created on this setup. Okay. To start with any customization, we have three options. Either you can take any out-of-box dashboard, do the modification, save it with some different name and publish to the Helix dashboard, and your view will be ready. Or else you can create from scratch. Just click on this new and start creating your view. Or third option is we can use this sample metadata view as a baseline where we have only two table and few columns from that table and one join. So that we can take it as a reference and extend that according to your need. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take again incident management, same view. I'm just clicking on OK to import. It asks me to save this model with some name. So I'll give 1009, INC 1009. Click on OK. Now what this reporting metadata studio will do, it will actually download this view from Helix dashboard. As being this Helix dashboard as a SaaS application, all the views are stored at the SaaS or the S3 level. Okay. So it will download that file, load that file into this reporting metadata studio, and we are ready to modify this particular view. So if you see, this is our out-of-box dashboard, which consists of HPD help desk, association, base element, task, impact areas, work log. These many tables are already added, table or form included in these views. This line shows the relationship between these two columns. This is like hierarchy of the relationship. This is A and this is B. And if you mouse over, you can see the relationship between all these tables or forms. Okay. Before we start, I just need to create a connection to the database. So I'm just opening this connection, database connection. This is a generic database connection to the AR server. Okay, it uses this URL, which we pre-populate depending on the configuration in that environment file. Only thing is user need to provide username and password. So I'm going to use same user, right? And I'm just clicking on this test button to verify if my connection is ready. Okay, so my connection is on. I'm clicking on OK. And now I can use this button to import the table. Okay. So here, import table. Now what I need to add one column, one new table in this view, and one column from that table. So for that, I'm just using this import table. This will show me all the tables from the AR. This list also includes all the customization done into the AR system. So just for demo, I'm going to use HPD statistics as a column, which is not there in this view. I'm just selecting that. I'm clicking on OK. Now, if you see, my table is added here as a physical table. Okay, these are all physical tables. Now, in this business model, we have to add this new table as a business table. So I'm just clicking on add new business table. I'm selecting this, and now this HPD help desk, HPD statistics, which was physical table, now it added as a business table. Now I need to add relationship between these two. So I can click on new relationship. I'll say HPD help desk of incident number. Let's say incident number. Let me just get that. Incident number and HPD help desk statistics and its instance counter. With this, I'm going to join because I know this schema. So I'm going to join these two table with the inner join. So I'm selecting inner join and I'm clicking on OK. So if you see, this line is generated and it shows the relationship between these two tables. I'm just simply saving this, okay, just to preserve my work. Now, after you save this, okay, this will take some time. Now, what next? I want few column which I want to use it as a field from this statistic table. So what I will do, I'll just add new category. Okay, I'm just, when I say category, it is the folder which we have seen on the Visual Query Builder. I'll say stats and new folder is created. I'm just going to add few fields, let's say status in this particular stat folder. I'll say user, I want company. I think that's all for now, just for a demo. And I'm clicking OK. So if you see, these three fields got added. And if you notice, like these are all the fields which we see on the Visual Query Builder in the same order. So I'm just clicking on save again, just to save. Now my changes, whatever the changes that I wanted to do as a customization in out-of-box dashboard, that is done. I just want to verify my changes and verify my join. So here we have this query builder. We can use this query builder just to verify the changes. Okay. So I'm just selecting, okay, incident number I want, which is from HPD help desk. And I want these three fields which I have added, which are from HPD statistics that I have added. I can simply click on this SQL and see, okay, how is the join created. So if you see the join is correct, also the columns are there. And I can click on this run button. So, okay, so it will show me some data as well, so first 5,000 rows for the preview purpose. Okay. So now I'm happy with all my changes that I wanted to do in the view. I'm saving this one more time just to not miss anything. And next step is, as this studio is on my Windows machine, I want to make this view available for all the reporting user, right? Report editor. So what I have again published to Helix dashboard option. And here I can see demo. And this is the alias which I have given in this file, right? The alias. So here we have this option as well, configure tenant environment. Let's say there is a use case, you are creating this view on the dev environment, you test everything on the dev environment, but you don't want to create a view again on the QA or on the prod. You just want to publish this to QA or prod, right? So in that case, you can configure another tenant environment by using this option and then give some different alias and select that name to publish your view. Right now, I have only one, so I'm just selecting this demo. Okay. It is asking me for some name, so I'll give the same name, INC 1009, today's date. I'll simply say okay. Now, what it will do, this reporting metadata studio will again generate an XML file, check the authentication, like the reporting metadata studio authentication, upload this file to report to Helix Dashboard. Okay, so this is now upload is done. It shows this is available. So if I go back again to Helix Dashboard, and if I try to create a new dashboard using VQB, okay. So let's say I am a viewer or report editor here. Now, if I want to use the views which is created by admin, so I'll just say INC 1009. Okay. So this view is available for me, and I can see, okay, stat folder is also I can see here. I'll again create same report on the VQB as well. Let's say incident number, status, user, and company. And I'll click on preview. This will show me again a similar result. Okay. So this way we can do customization in the reporting, in the out of box views, or we can have the different views depending on all our customization done in the AR database. So yeah, that's what I.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I wanted to share. I will hand it over to Nikhil for next area.
Yes, thank you. Thanks, Ajinkya.
Thanks, Nikhil.
Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, good.
Yes, yeah.
All right, now let's look at a product roadmap. At the product roadmap, there was one question on the roadmap. I'm going to answer that as part of this last section of this workshop. So let's first pause for a moment and understand how artificial intelligence is making fundamental changes to how we interact with enterprise software. Today, almost everyone uses AI in their personal lives, whether it's ChatGPT or Google Gemini or whatever. And there's an expectation that enterprise applications should offer the same omni-channel experiences that people have in their personal lives. And PMC is receptive to these changes. We are making significant changes to how our end users will interact with our products. Let's look at what are the old ways of doing things and what are the new ways. So if you look at requesters, typically service catalog, you would typically log into a portal or email the service desk, pick up the phone and call the service desk, walk in, whatever. That's the old way. The new way is to have a, a communication channel of choice, such as Slack or Teams, where you don't need a UI to interact with the system. Your interaction is through a conversational interface. If you look at service desk or service catalog fulfillers, they know the old way was to work across multiple screens, fulfill requests, and so on. The new way is that these people will have a fleet of agents or assistants to assist them in delivering services to their customers. The old way was for data analysts to wait in line to get access to data or to rely on some expertise on how data is organized, how to analyze that data, requires special skills of analyzing data, all of that. The new way is for AI agents to help create your reports, not just that, but also to deep dive into those reports, analyze the data, because ultimately that's what your business users or your IT leaders want to do. Get down to the bottom of what are the problems, what are the sources of all the issues uh, that they're facing. And likewise, this is true across all aspects of how we interact with business software. Okay. In response to these changes, at BMC, we have come up with a range of actions, which we call Helix GPT actions, that cover a broad spectrum of things that end users do when they interact with software. Typically, converse with a virtual agent, summarize. It could be summarizing the content of, say, the audit log or conversations of an incident. It could be summarizing a report. It could be predicting something based on what has happened in the past. It could be recommending best actions. There's a lot of automation that results from deploying AI and so on, creating dashboards, creating knowledge articles. So a lot of creation that's possible now through agentic AI using by leveraging the power of large language models. That's now possible. So it's possible for us to put into action all of these actions, which we have done so in our products. Helix GPT is the master agent, and it draws on a number of agents across our service management and operations management solutions, with every agent specializing in certain skills. You'll notice that one of these agents is Helix GPT Insight Finder, and we'll talk about that in a moment. You'll be able to connect to your databases, which is not just Helix, but you could also use our AI agents based on your external data sources, or they could be your internal data sources, such as maybe SharePoint or Jira or whatever. So Helix GPT is a range of agents that enable you to fulfill a lot of those requests, uncover or discover a lot of hidden patterns of data, which until now was not possible because you always had to spend a lot of time in getting access to data, merging that data with your data in Helix and so on. Will allow you to bring your own LLM subscriptions if you have any to take it. So you can take advantage of your subscriptions to use along with Helix GPT. So what specifically are we going to do with Insight Finder? Insight Finder is an agent that helps automate the process of developing dashboards. Through a conversational interface, your data analysts or service desk managers, operations managers will be able to develop dashboards just through natural language prompts. Going further, Insight Finder will also be able to guide them, analyze this data. So there are ways in which sometimes the analyst will want the system to analyze data in a particular way, which of course Insight Finder will do, but you'll be able to ask Insight Finder to find hidden trends or analyze the data for incidents, changes, problems, situations, and so on. And it will be able to do that. Insight Finder, we're also looking at the ability to analyze the data and identify outliers or anomalies to your data, because ultimately that's what your managers need to focus on. Focus on the outliers, focus on any anomaly that deserves to be corrected for you to be able to serve your customers. Summarize all the insights. You've now developed dashboards. You need to summarize this and generate human readable summaries that can be consumed by anyone. It could be your senior leaders, it could be tactical reports for your service desk teams or your level 2, level 3 teams, and so on. So all of this is going to be possible with Helix GPT Insight Finder. This is the area where we are investing significantly, and we'll do it over the next several quarters. You'll see that this will be our main focus area for our investments. Moving on from other areas of investment apart from Insight Finder is Grafana upgrades. We continually upgrade to recent versions of Grafana. We upgraded to Grafana 10.4 a couple of releases back. We're now upgrading to Grafana 11.2 in an upcoming release. And when we do this, you get to benefit from the features that Grafana has introduced in these releases. Visual Query Builder is our drag and drop designer that allows any user without SQL knowledge to be able to generate or develop reports. We just saw a demo of this tool. Visual Query Builder requires views, and we ship several views out of the box, which covers almost everything in ITSM, certainly incident problem change, but also assets, CMDB, digital workplace, business workflows, and so on. There are a few items on our roadmap. We'll be shipping a view for release management shortly, and we'll also look at developing a view for foundation data. Now, the views that we ship only include out-of-the-box fields, but what if you have customized your ITSM implementation? You may have custom forms, custom fields, or you may even have custom applications that you may have developed on Innovation Studio. If you want to use Visual Query Builder with these, then you will need to extend the views to also include these items. So to include these custom fields, Report Metadata Studio is our Windows client app, which you can use to extend our views to also include your custom forms and fields. Another feature we added to Metadata Studio is called Global Constraints. Imagine a situation where you want to force all users to add a specific condition or a specific qualification to your data. It could be on company or assigned group or whatever. You don't have to rely on every user adding that condition. You can add those constraints or those qualifications as part of the view definition, so that whenever a user develops a dashboard, that qualification will be automatically applied every time at runtime. So that's about Visual Query Builder. These are some low-level improvements in Visual Query Builder. We continually look at extending the list of operators and functions. So in, not in, like, between, all those several data and string functions, convert data to uppercase, lowercase, use ltrim, rtrim, just like you would in SQL to get rid of leading spaces or trailing spaces, everything that you can possibly do using SQL. Most of these functions are now available to you within Visual Query Builder. Another recent improvement is that in Visual Query Builder, when you hover your mouse over a field, the tooltip displays the database view and field name. This can be helpful for anyone who's more familiar with the underlying ITSM forms and fields. So you know exactly the source from the database that it's coming from. Another item is enrichment of the semantic layer. I talked about Insight Finder. Insight Finder requires a semantic layer to convert natural language to SQL. So how will this happen? It requires enriching the view that I talked about with detailed description of every field. So we have started enriching the semantic layer with these field descriptions. We've already done it for a few, such as incident, problem, change, and we'll do it for other views also, asset management, CMDB, digital workplace, all of them will follow in future releases. Role-based access control allows your admins granular control over how they want to grant permissions to different users to perform different functions. So this feature allows your admins to create custom roles, and then for each custom role, they can define permissions at a granular level. If you're looking at the screenshot, you can see that for a specific role, the admin can grant them view dashboards or create dashboards. Another role could be created just to grant those users access to create data sources so that there isn't a dependency on the admins to do everything. They can create these custom roles and delegate certain functions to them. We have done several improvements to our plugins in recent releases. So the record details plugin is useful if you want to generate a record printing program, such as incident, change, and so on. So we have made some minor tweaks to improve the usability. For example, handle word wrap or retain the carriage return inside these fields. Dynamically resize the panel based on the content so that it looks good when it's exported. We know that the start day of the week is not the same everywhere. In some countries, the week starts on a Sunday. In some countries, it starts on a Monday. And in a few others, it starts on a Saturday. So you can now configure the start date of the week, and the calendar plugin will honor your admin setting, your global setting. BMC table plugin. This is a plugin we've shipped in addition to Grafana's table, and several usability improvements have been done in the past few releases, handling word wraps, hiding columns, retaining carriage returns, and so on. You can generate barcodes using the BMC table plugin as well. So this can be useful in asset management, where depending on certain fields like serial number or a few others, you can use this plugin to generate barcodes, and then you can print those barcodes on barcode stickers and stick that sticker to your assets. We have a few roadmap items for the table plugin, concatenating two columns, splitting a column into multiple columns, filtering, allow inline filtering, especially for users who are consuming the reports on screen. Once the report is refreshed, we allow them to interact with the data by placing filters on the columns, and so on. Several other usability improvements we are considering. We are considering adding more calculations, aggregate functions to the footer. Today we support total and mean, but we'll also support minimum, maximum, and median, and we'll consider others in the future as well. Bar chart plugin, BMC bar chart plugin, we are considering allowing two variables on the y-axis. Today we just support one variable on y-axis and one on the x-axis. But if you want to see the correlation of two variables against against a common variable on the x-axis, will facilitate this change in one of our upcoming releases. The calendar plugin is being upgraded so that in addition to a daily, weekly, and monthly view, there will also be an annual view so that you can view all the upcoming changes for an entire year. It could be changes or releases, whatever. PDF enhancements, we realized that a number of dashboards are consumed offline. That is, users export the data to PDF formats and then circulate them to consumers of information. We have done several improvements to PDF enhancements for formatting and so on. So in the interest of time, I'll not go through every item. We'll certainly share these slides with you. But I wanted to show you some roadmap items, especially scheduling improvements. We've done several improvements in the past few releases, but so all those in that dotted blue box have already been delivered. But let me talk about some items that are upcoming. So reassigning schedules to another user is about and a user who has created schedules but is no longer an active employee of your company. So they'll be an inactive user, but they've got schedules. So we'll allow your admin to reassign those schedules to another active user. We'll allow you to set BCC in schedule so that anyone who's added as a BCC recipient, everyone else will not know who else is copied on those schedules. Dynamic recipient scheduling allows you to get, so this is an alternative to the current way in which you have to specify all those recipients of schedules. With dynamic recipient scheduling, the list of recipients of that schedule will be the output of another dashboard, or it could be a panel within the same dashboard. So at runtime, that other dashboard will be executed first, and depending on the contact list, the email list that we find from that, we will send that schedule just to that list every time. Conditional scheduling, you'll be able to schedule a dashboard subject to fulfillment of certain conditions. So that's condition will be something like a SQL query, or there could be a visual interface to create that query. But if depending on the outcome of that query, we will send that schedule or not send it. We'll also allow sending dashboards to all members of a team. Today, you have to specify the identity of every recipient. Instead of that, you can send it to teams. We'll also allow you to execute any failed schedules that you have in bulk so that you don't have to schedule them one at a time. Okay, I'll skip this. I want to leave some time for questions. Audit trail, good from a governance standpoint. Your admin will be able to see a dashboard wherein they can see who created dashboards, who modified them, likewise creation and modification of folders and schedules. I'll skip all this. License usage dashboards will allow for SaaS customers, you'll be able to view your licenses purchased versus their actual use, your named and concurrent licenses, your named and active licenses in digital workplace, as well as on the BHOM side, whatever licenses you have on BHOM and other BMC Helix products, you'll be able to see dashboards that show a comprehensive view of what you have purchased versus your actual consumption so that you can stay in compliance. We're going to localize, we'll support Canadian French and Canadian English. We'll also ship a localization framework so that you can translate your dashboards to any of these supported languages. That's about it. I had to breeze through some of these slides so that we have some time for questions. Do we have questions?
Yes, we do. And Jason, let me just unmute you and give you access. I'm going to start giving people access to speak. So if you do have a question, you haven't put it in the Q&A, you can also raise your hand. So Jason, good afternoon or good morning. Do you want to go through? You've got quite a lot of information there. It's probably easier you talk it through with the team, and then we'll go to court after.
Let's talk about the first one from Jason.
Yeah.
Sure.
Smart reporting, I just answered this. Dynamic scheduling will allow you to do exactly this.
Yep, I saw that. Thank you. That's great.
All right. Do you want to talk about your second one about Excel with format?
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I was stunned to see that when you export to Excel, it doesn't retain the formatting. And it looks like that's coming in the next version once we upgrade, but it still doesn't happen automatically. So it seems like exporting, and you did touch on this a little bit, that's something being worked on. I just want to see
Sure.
exporting in all the various types and retaining format. Is that a goal that you guys are focusing on?
Yes. Export to Excel will retain the formatting.
Okay, but it will, I mean, are we always going to have to set the variable in order to do that? Or is that just kind of a workaround at the moment?
Ajinkya, can you respond?
Yeah, so yeah, that is not required. We are going to remove those variables we are actually removing few. So that is not required in the new
Okay.
release. Yeah.
Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you, Jason. Do you have any other questions while you're off mute?
No, that's all.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I think we had a couple of questions that have already been answered. Does anybody else have any questions? If you do, raise the hand or come off mute. You should all have access to speak with us live. Edward, I don't know if you've tried to come off mute intentionally, but if you are trying to talk, we can't hear you. If you did have a question, it may be that because you've joined via the browser, it's not giving you access to audio. Do you want to put it into the Q&A for us, or we can connect offline after? While we're waiting to see if there's any more questions, Nikhil, just a reminder for everyone, we are running these on a monthly basis. We are coming to end of life, and it might be just helpful to give them a reminder. We are also going to be running another one of these sessions at the end of April, so do look out on my webinar page on communities. I also share these out on LinkedIn. We're just finalizing it to make the link go live, so you can sign up or you can pass it on to someone else that it might be useful for. And in between these workshops that we're doing, we're also running roadmap sessions. So a lot of what Nikhil has shared with you today, we will be running some of those sessions later. So please join those ones as well. We obviously want to look at the future and forward thinking stuff as well. I don't know, Nikhil, if you wanted to share anything else.
Yeah. So we are running a best practices webinar series. We delivered those webinars in February. We did 2 sessions or 2 parts focused on ITSM. We are planning to do one more, which will be focused on digital workplace. So we haven't scheduled it yet, but we will do so within maybe next month or 2. So we'll share everything we know about the best practices of developing dashboards for digital workplace.
I think we're planning mid-April, but I will work with Nikhil to get those dates out to everyone. Okay. Nikhil, we do have another question. I'm not sure who it's from. It's anonymous. But regarding Meta Studio, any plans in the future to include the HDB itself?
So a link to download Metadata Studio is available within Helix Dashboards. But if the question is about whether there will be we are looking at options to get away from a client installer. There could be a web application for Metadata Studio, or we're also exploring other options to fulfill the same thing. I'll not be able to share any details yet, but we are exploring a few other options whereby we can get away with having all of you to install Metadata Studio on a client. And we'll share details when we know what path we are going to take. Sure.
Thanks, Nikhil.
When is smart reporting going away? In SaaS environments, it will go away at the end of April. So we have already communicated to all customers who have active smart reporting environments in SaaS. They would have received our emails that it's going away on April 28th. Or shortly after April 28th, we'll start decommissioning smart reporting environments. On premises, we haven't announced end of support yet, but I can tell you it will be approximately another year. We encourage on-prem customers to also use Helix Dashboards, transition to Helix Dashboards, but you've got approximately another year before we stop supporting smart reporting. But please don't wait for us to announce end of support. Please begin your migration journey as soon as possible so that your transition is smooth and you don't have to wait until the last moment.
Thanks, Nikhil. I think 2 people asked that question as well, so you've just covered that one. Thanks. Okay, if we don't have any further questions, I will get the Q&A out, the recording. I know a few people have asked today. That will get sent out to you in the next 24 to 48 hours. We also will share the slides. If you do have any other questions or you need help with services, more than happy for you to reach out to me, and I can connect you to the wider teams of BMC. Otherwise, we will look forward to seeing you on future sessions. And as soon as these other ones that we've discussed is live, they will go out on the community site. And you are very likely to get an email from BMC to ask you if you want to register. So thank you to the team today for presenting. I think we're on number 25 now. There's a few more to go. And I want to thank everyone for joining today. Edward, I can see you've got your hand up. I don't know if you can speak on mute. Do you want to just quickly come off mute and see? Otherwise, we can connect to you separately before everyone disappears. Can you hear us? I saw your hand was raised. Hello? I think we have an audio issue. Edward, I'll connect to you after. Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you.